So chat, this is an interesting one, and I know that a lot of people, if you watch me frequently, you'll probably expect a certain reaction out of me to this story. But I will hopefully end up surprising you with this one, because my take on this is somewhat nuanced. For those that don't know, Hasan Piker, the largest left-wing political streamer, well, possibly one of the largest political commentators in the world, but certainly the largest on the left, has been subpoenaed by Donald Trump's Justice Department. No doubt, with some input from Donald Trump himself. The reason for this, according to said Justice Department, is because Hasan Piker incriminated himself in admitting on his stream that he had spoken to and worked with the Cuban government, if not directly through a middleman, in order to organize his appearance and streams in Cuba, where he admittedly did run a lot of defense for the Cuban government. And legally speaking, as a large public figure here in America, being paid and working with, not paid, but working with the Cuban government to facilitate pro-Cuban government propaganda, it's a pretty serious issue. Like legally speaking, it's a pretty serious issue, and based on what Hasan has said, he's actually done those things. And so as far as whether or not he's going to be found guilty, it's very possible he will be, should charges come from all of this. Now, mind you, he's not being charged, all right? Because I know there's a lot of sensationalizing of this story that's going around, so I'm going to cut through some of that. He's not being charged. He's not even really being investigated. He's just been subpoenaed. And being subpoenaed is like the least serious step to the beginning of an investigation that could happen. They're basically trying to see if they can get probable cause for like an arrest and charges. And they might not find any. Or they might come to the conclusion that there's not enough evidence to go off of. We can only really wait and see. However, I will not pretend as though this is not politically motivated. Hasan Piker is a loud critic of Donald Trump. Now, does he criticize Trump as much as the Democrats? Not really, and that's one of my biggest criticisms of Hasan. However, he is nonetheless a left-leaning critic who embodies a lot of the politics that Donald Trump hates, that the Republicans hate. And using political lawfare against Hasan Piker is absolutely what they are trying to do. IDK, isn't that still freedom of speech to do propaganda? It's not when you're coordinating behind the scenes with a foreign government. No, that's not legal in the slightest. When you're trying to impact and change people's votes in politics while secretly coordinating with foreign governments to push pro-foreign government propaganda, that's literally the whole premise of, like, Russia fucking with our politics through propaganda and everything. It's a huge problem. It's very illegal, too, if you're a U.S. citizen doing that. So yeah, Hasan might be in some serious trouble. Now, don't get me wrong, morally speaking, I don't think he did anything wrong. What he really did was he basically just vlogged a flotilla of aid being sent to Cuba, right? And he did, to be fair, get some special treatment so he could stream there and everything, but let's be real, like, he didn't hurt anybody. Like, we dunk on him a bit for the fact that, like, a bunch of Cubans had no power and he was in, like, a specially set up hotel so that he could have power and internet and be able to stream while he's there. You know, like, it's fun to dunk on him for that, but he didn't hurt anybody doing it, right? Like, it's not like I want him to be thrown in prison over that. And this is very blatantly political lawfare. Trump sucks, Hasan sucks too? Yes, and I agree. Not defending anything about Hasan. You guys know I'm not defending Hasan's previous bad behavior. What I am saying, though, is that we do not want to celebrate this. As you do not want to celebrate this, because you don't know if this is the beginning of the legitimate crackdown on anybody who speaks out against the left or the right. Hasan's the loudest and largest left-wing voice. So it would start with him. You know, like, this could be a real canary in the coal mine kind of situation. You know, you don't have to like Hasan to admit that this might be the beginning of the Trump administration silencing all dissent. Hasan, I actually think, had a fairly measured response to the news when it came out. And I have a clip here of him reacting to it, and I thought we'd give it a watch, shall we?
I know you usually have the work of rallying the orgs you support, but in case they try to bring you to court, you should definitely consider coordinating with orgs you've been pushing and try to publicly mobilize your community and not only your defense, but use yourself as an example that the admin is hunting down real pro-American voices like Medea. Show them that your emotion goes beyond being a Twitter power user that's buddies with Elon's exes, dude, sometimes I welcome.
I will say, nobody makes me want to defend Hasan more than Hasan's fans criticizing him. Hasan attracts the most insufferable kinds of lefties, and he knows this because he's constantly getting rage baited by their retarded comments in his chat, where it's like, Hasan, I know you're the most impactful political voice on the entire left. Let's not pretend he isn't. But are you really doing enough? Are you really doing enough to like organize with these groups? It's like, okay, listen. I'm all for saying like Hasan doesn't do enough to like support the Democratic Party to defeat Republicans in elections and all that. But like, are we going to act like he's not having a political impact? You know, like, dude, his fans are so insufferable, dude. It almost makes me want to defend him. So the thing is I called out Hasan's trip as risky. Did you call out his trip as risky before all this subpoena stuff happened? If so, I guess you can almost claim a little bit of a sense of you predicted it. You know, you're like psychic. You can see the future. Dividing by zero.
Rotting for the rest of my life in a fucking federal penitentiary, rather than having to deal with long-term community members who have like unbelievably snide remarks even in this fucking moment. Like, what the fuck, dude? What? You're giving me advice on something that you don't know if I'm doing or not, okay? And then also you have to slap me with a fucking backhand and be like, all you technically do is just, you know, hang out with Elon Musk's exes, dude. Why don't you do some real fucking organizing? Well, bitch, I did, okay?
Listen, cucking Elon Musk is one of the very, like, listen, I've got plenty of complaints about Hasan. Cucking Elon Musk isn't one of them.
And guess what? The government was like, we're throwing your ass in jail. Fuck you. Okay, what do you want me to do? Not an ideal way to add to your lore. I know. You can't pay for this kind of publicity, fam. Okay, guys, I'll be honest. I prefer not to have this publicity. Okay, if you think that this is just like, it's good. I know some of you are looking for a silver lining in this situation, but this is not good. Okay, there is no world where having to deal with like a federal case is actually a good moment. I would much rather not have to deal with this at all. Okay. Problem is the Dem leadership hates the left too. Yeah, but this is one of those moments where they actually do have to say something because they understand that. I mean, who knows? Who knows? That of course is going to turn me into a major villain. It's Elon Musk's platform. He fucking despises me, right?
Well, he didn't even just say that he got permission from the Cuban government. I got the clip of what he said that most likely caused the subpoena, and I'll show it to you guys in a moment, but it's a pretty big thing. Still, though, it's insane how we've basically been holding the entire nation of Cuba hostage for decades now. Yeah, we've more or less gatekept them from world trade, and now Donald Trump is using Cuba's, destitution due to their lack of connection to world trade as a excuse for why the government has failed the people of Cuba and it deserves to be, you know, completely invaded and toppled. Now, to be fair, the Cuban government has a lot of problems and there definitely are issues with it. Like, I get why we put an embargo in place initially and like tried to gatekeep Cuba for a time, but that was meant to be like a bargaining chip, essentially. The idea of just a forever lockout of Cuba from global trade and just saying, yeah, you're basically just never allowed to be on friendly terms with America until you firmly embrace American capitalism. Like, I don't know, like what do they want? Yeah, it's pretty awful. Like, I'm not here to defend like the embargoing of Cuba. It's pretty gross treatment. I do think there would be a much better way to handle that, and I don't dislike that Hasan went there on a flotilla to deliver aid, but I do think it's very funny that the Cuban government was like, we're going to give you special treatment to make sure you're able to do this trip and stream it, because he needed to be able to stream it. In fact, I believe the Cuban government's words were, if the only thing stopping Hasan from doing this aid trip is his ability to stream it, which implies he wouldn't do an aid trip like that if he couldn't stream it. And that's something that I hold as a pretty big critique of him. See, he's got to make it into content.
And these guys have seen it on their algorithms so much that they're defending the Trump administration. They're actively supporting the Trump administration, not just harming a person that they perceive to be an enemy, but harming themselves. Because when I swing from the gallows, I won't be there alone.
I'll be there with you, Hasan.
You
Don't
will
worry.
be there. They'll put you up there too.
Probably.
This is not about radical commentary. This is not about communism. This is not about socialism. This is about dissent. Dissent against a fascist government. It will not stand.
Now, here's the big issue that I'm taking when it comes to Hasan. Xander Hall, you said you would quit streaming like 30 minutes ago. If Trump starts actually like arresting people for being progressive creators, yeah, I would probably retire from streaming. Yeah, like, I'm not like Hasan out here making buku bucks off of streaming. Okay, like I get nonstop harassment from Nazis, and now there's a chance that Donald Trump is going to try to throw like YouTubers and streamers and Twitter posters that are left leaning in prison. Yeah, I think I'd retire in that situation. Okay, yeah, sorry if that upsets you, but yeah, sorry, but I think that's kind of common fucking sense, bro. Anyway, though, here's my big issue with Hasan. Here's my big issue with Hasan in this situation and his fan base and the people that are fans of Hasan. If we rewind to the election, you guys might remember how many videos I made criticizing other leftists, notably Hasan, and towards the very end of the election itself, also Vosh, for jumping on the anti-Kamala train. First, it was the anti-Biden train. Years of nonstop negative anti-Biden coverage from the left. And then calling for Biden to be removed or to step down, and when Kamala took his place, attacking her as well, relentlessly from a left direction, specifically trying to convince left-leaning people who might have voted for Kamala Harris or Biden not to do so. And I called out these creators relentlessly for this type of content, especially in those last 6 months before the general election, when it came down to Kamala or Biden first, and then Kamala or Trump. And you had people like Hasan who were continuously refusing to endorse Kamala, wouldn't even say who they voted for on stream, things like this. And now, or not even now actually, a couple months later, when Trump wins, they're celebrating that Kamala lost. Who remembers that famous tweet? This is, what was it? Gaza is speaking now, bitch, I think was the tweet. Like, hey Kamala, Gaza is speaking now, bitch, was the famous like viral tweet that got like 400,000 likes in election night when Kamala lost. Yeah, so like there was a lot of celebration of the fact that they were successful seemingly in keeping the Democrats from winning with a left-wing movement against the Democratic Party. They saw that as a win, seemingly forgetting what this meant for Trump. And it seems like, or with Trump coming into power, and it seems like a lot of them also assumed that the Democrats would be the ones who suffer primarily under Donald Trump, because let's go back to a few months ago when Senator Adam Schiff from California was put under a federal criminal investigation by Donald Trump's Justice Department in a form of blatant, legal, politicized lawfare. This was Hasan's reaction to that, when he believed that this type of consequence of Trump being president would only affect Democrats.
Oh my God. Part of that is oh my God. Senator Adam Schiff under federal criminal investigation for alleged mortgage fraud violations. Oh my God, I hope they arrest him. Oh my God, I hope he goes to prison. Oh my God, I hope he goes to prison. Oh, I hate him so much. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, this is political. Sure, I don't care. Lock him up. Lock him up. He got, dude, he literally got, I know this is fucking absolutely malicious. I know this is malicious. I know Trump is...
Ew, right here only. I know. I'm sorry, guys, but that's just how it is. Also, while you're watching this clip, I want you to know that once Hasan got pushback for this on Twitter the last couple days, he started claiming this was a joke. So just know, he's totally not being serious here, and this is all just a joke. He's not actually celebrating Adam Schiff getting political lawfare from Donald Trump. This is totally a joke, now that it looks bad for him to have joked about this, and he needs sympathy from Democrats.
Dude, he literally got, I know this is fucking absolutely malicious. I know this is malicious. I know Trump is doing this out of pure malice. This motherfucker got like 6 mil from AIPAC. Okay? Lock him up. Yes, he's my senator.
Part of that.
Oh my God.
Lock him up. Lock him up. He took like $6 million from AIPAC, so lock him up. But also, even if you disagree with me politically, you have to speak out. The Democrats have to speak out, is what he's saying. I'm gonna be honest. Well, I don't think there should be any public celebrations of this. I don't think the Democrats should be expected to speak out. I'm gonna be honest. If you are a Hasan fan, or are Hasan yourself, you've spent years now saying that you cut a liberal, a fascist bleeds. Saying that liberals are the enemy. Democrats are the enemy. You do not get to repeatedly claim that Democrats and liberals are the enemy, and then when the fascists that liberals and Democrats begged you to keep out of power by voting goes after you, now they're finally coming after you. Keep in mind, all right, the liberal voting people of color were the first people that the Trump administration went after. Democrat voting queer people were the next people the Trump administration went after. All right. Now the Trump women who wanted their abortion rights and bodily autonomy. Then the Trump administration went after them. Now the Trump admin is going after the tankies. And now we need to, oh my God, red alert. Now the government's going after Hasan. This is the real issue. Zan, are you a progressive or a leftist? Is there really that much of a difference? I feel like that's a hot tub jacuzzis thing, right? Aren't all leftists progressive, but not all progressives are leftist? All jacuzzis are hot tubs, but not all hot tubs are jacuzzis. It's like, are you a jacuzzi or a hot tub, Xanderhall? That's basically what you asked me. Lock him up for political reasons is tanky shit? Oh yeah, well, Hasan is a tanky. Never ask Hasan his position on Tibet, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Don't ever ask him his position on North Korea. Don't ever ask him his position on China. Don't ever ask him his position on Russia and Ukraine. Okay, like any of these particular issues. Don't ever ask him about Uyghur genocide in China either. Don't ever ask him about that. Never ask him about gay rights in China or in Russia. All right, don't ask him about that. Okay, he's a big all or nothing defender of their right to do colonialism, I guess. I know. I shouldn't let this devolve into a dedicated Hasan hate segment. Let's be fair. I shouldn't do that. We should keep things on track. Good point, chat. Good point. We'll keep things on track. I actually have one more clip related to this I wanted to show you guys, and that was likely the clip that caused the subpoena in the first place. Let me bring it up. So this is the clip that everyone is saying likely resulted in the subpoena. This is what everyone is pointing to as where Hasan truly incriminated himself.
I want to go to Cuba. Would you be down?
I fucking love Cuba.
Oh yeah, you'd be down?
Yeah, I filmed a documentary there once.
The Cuban government actually hit my contact from the embassy and told him that if the only thing stopping us from coming to Cuba was the consistent internet access, we can make it happen.
Yeah, Cuba is sick.
Wait,
the government reached out.
People were pointing out that when he starts mentioning a contact talking to him about Cuba, or from the Cuban government talking with him, or talking with his contact, his buddy starts slurping loudly into the microphone, and people theorize that was his buddy trying to warn him, hey. You can't actively verbally tell him to stop, but he was just trying to do anything that might make Hasan stop talking. That's how a lot of people are interpreting that slurp. It could also just be he was slurping loudly into his mic.
That if the only thing stopping us from coming to Cuba was the consistent internet access, we can make it happen.
Yeah, Cuba is sick.
Wait,
the government reached out to you.
So yeah, of course. It's well, not reached out to me. There's there's a middleman there. Because I had a doctor from Cuba. Cuba does this thing called medical missions, and they've been doing it since I believe the 70s, and it's incredibly successful. They have a massive, very robust medical program because they have to, because they're under an incredible sanctions regime by the United States of America that the rest of the world thinks is abhorrent, except for America and Israel that keep consistently vetoing it over and over again. But this has created a...
So that's the clip that seems to be what everyone is pointing to as likely what caused this. Now, Hasan did actually respond to this clip going viral.
Another country.
Whoa. Hasan did respond to this clip going viral, And I guess this would be his primary defense, or his explanation. So I'm curious to see how does he defend this as far as like not being an admission of guilt to what crime he's being charged with. To be clear, I don't think he should even be charged with it on a moral position. Like I'm not rooting for it. I'm not like calling for it. If it happens, I won't celebrate it. But just from like do you think the charges will happen? Will they stick? Perspective here. Let's hear his defense.
Another country. The American restrictions on this stuff are fucking idiotic. I have a journalism visa. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, that's not really relevant.
And what's really funny about it is that every single media outlet that goes to Cuba does this as well. CNN, Al Jazeera, ABC, fucking Fox News. Every goddamn American news outlet that has been to Cuba has done this.
Coordinated with the Cuban government? Is that true? Like, we can fact check that really fast. I mean, I don't know if that would be an easy thing to fact check, but I'll do my best here. Do news stations coordinate with the Cuban government for stories? How much do they coordinate, I guess? International news stations operating inside Cuba must coordinate with and obtain official approval from the Cuban government to report from the country. Cuba's constitution recognizes press freedom but prohibits private media ownership. The government retains a monopoly on mass media and strictly regulates who is allowed to practice journalism. Wow, that's definitely something to defend as far as the government's positions. But is this applying to like outside journalists? Consequences for independent reporting. Independent journalists or outlets operating outside state channels risk harassment, detention, and imprisonment for publishing content critical of the authorities. This is in reference to the Cuban government. So if Hasan had said anything critical, he could have been arrested by the Cuban government. That's really, really funny. That's actually really funny. That is probably not what Hasan wants us to know, but it's funny that, like, if you Google to fact check any of his claims, you start learning things about the Cuban government he does not want you to know. Because of this, much of the independent coverage is currently produced by exiled journalists based outside the country. Okay. So what Hasan's really saying here is only positive coverage of Cuba is done in coordination with the Cuban government. That's the only way you can do in the country coverage of Cuba, is if you work with the government, get your coverage approved, and don't say anything that would land you in prison by criticizing said government. But if you're trying to cover the nation critically, you do so externally. Even Cuban journalists do so externally, as they don't want to risk getting imprisoned. Okay. So I guess that's what's really sus, is that Hasan chose to work with the Cuban government and follow their rules as to what he's allowed to say and report about the Cuban government, and like was actively there to do a Cuban government approved propaganda stream. Holy shit, I hate that I used to enjoy creators like Hasan and Second Thought, because holy shit, tankies are scumbags. They really are. Yeah, but they're really good at coming off as chill, normal people. They're really good at it. I used to be a Second Thought fan. I ain't gonna blame you. Second Thought's made some good fucking content. Bad Empanada is one of the most unhinged, insane tankies on the entire internet, and yet he's got videos where he sounds like just a normal dude talking about like some nitty-gritty socialist or foreign policy related stuff. But then if you look at his Twitter or find out what he gets up to on his stream, it's like, oh my god, this guy is a psychopath. A lot of tankies are like that. They're really good at like putting on a power level hiding face. They're not that dissimilar from like neo-Nazis online. Like they're very similar in the way they operate and hide their power level, and like they're really unhinged behind the scenes, but they try to put on like a relatively acceptable front. I was a Second Thought fan until I saw your video. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Second Thought's like podcast he does with like his tanky podcast, but yeah, he gets really into it with that one.
So a lot of people don't realize that, so they think, oh my god, there's like, this is illegal shit. That's what's going on here. It's clearly illegal.
So horseshoe theory is real? No, not really. It's not that the far right and the far left believe the same things. It's that they operate similarly. right? Like, so there's a similar aspect of like moral purity testing in politics. You'll see that like super giga Nazis online actually are almost as likely to engage in infighting with other conservatives as any lefty. Look at like the Groypers and how much they can't even like they can't keep their dick in their pants long enough to allow someone like Ben Shapiro to be politically effective for their side because they can't get over the fact that he's Jewish. Like, these far right communities and far left communities, they're very similar in that like they grow when they are successfully able to front being something other than what they really are behind the scenes, right? One side just has more money than the other. Yeah, pretty much. The first lefty for me was a leftist vor YouTuber. Yes, you heard me right. I have never seen that combo of things, Real Deprod. Who the fuck? It's more about liberalism versus moral purity versus vices. After having a good time, I mean Italian. I have no idea what you mean there, DJ Reaper Skier. Yeah, because authoritarianism isn't actually coherent. Well, authoritarianism isn't cool. Like, remember, with the far left and far right, they're both trying to sell you on authoritarianism in one way or another. And I think that's, frankly, where a lot of the similarities come from, why they seem so similar. It's because they're both trying to use similar methods to convince you that losing freedom and having a strong government that takes rights away from you and restricts what you're allowed to do and makes decisions for you, they try to make that sound better. You know, Nazis talk about all the problems that would solve, and leftists talk about all the problems that would solve. You know what I mean? Like, you can pretty easily sell people on authoritarianism and a lack of freedom if you convince them their biggest problems will be solved by it.
Oh, brother, major Western outlets live broadcast from Iran while we are fucking bombing Iran, okay? What the fuck are you talking?
By the way, when they're able to do that, it's because they're in a location that is protected. That's, they're obvious. I mean, maybe there's war journalists. There's war journalists that are like in battlefields and stuff. But as far as like the CNN reporter on top of a balcony, like reporting with like a war going on in the background, they're in a secure location. And I know that because they also had reporters doing this in Ukraine, and they went into plenty of detail about how they found safe locations for reporters to report on the war. Reminder that, like, in the early days of it, like, Kyiv was getting bombed, bro. Like, Kyiv was getting bombed in the early days of the war. Like, the first, like, week or two was, like, here's a bunch of different live video cameras, like, live video security feeds you can tune into in Ukraine and Kyiv. And, there were some other major cities, too, that their names are escaping me right now. I think Kharkiv was another one, and fuck, there was another big city that was under major attack at the onset of the war that you could just watch a nonstop hail of artillery coming down on like live cameras, and we did. Like when the war started, I was live streaming coverage, and we were watching live security cameras that were just set up on houses and buildings in Ukraine that were just broadcasting artillery raining the fuck down. And meanwhile, you had Hasan denying that any of this was happening. Hasan hated Dylan Burns, the Ultimate War Chad. The Ultimate War Chad is a crazy thing to call him. Jesus Christ. But yeah, listen. Hasan, as much as it might tempt you to be like, haha, karma for Hasan, we shouldn't celebrate this, but we sure as hell should not let this dude and his fan base try to convince us that the Democrats, liberals, or even leftists should feel compelled to defend him when he's spent all of his time trying to purity test Democrats and attack the party that tried to keep this guy out of office. The worst part of it, by the way, the worst fucking part of it, is that now you've got Hasan and his fans trying to rewind the clock and change history. And I cannot stand that, especially when the thing they're trying to pretend like they never said and they never did is shit that I criticized. So here's a good example of that. So here you have one of Hasan's fans commenting, Hasan Piker voted for Kamala Harris. He told his viewers to vote for Kamala Harris. Why do you people keep lying on him? So this person quote tweets that tweet with one of Hasan's tweets during the election, Bombala Harris, in reference to Kamala Harris saying that we're going to have the most lethal military, and this person defends Hasan saying that's a pretty solid response to her no, And I simply reply with a picture of 4 guys moving a goalpost because that's what this guy was doing, moving the fucking goalpost. It got some likes. It got some likes. But yeah, so that's just one example. But in regards to, did Hasan vote for her? And did Hasan tell his fans to vote for Kamala Harris? Give me a moment. Here's the clip of Hasan Piker voting on stream. I have criticized him for this clip a million times, so I'm sorry if you've already seen it a bunch, but people are now Hasan fans are denying this exists now. The Hasan fans are rewriting history and claiming this never happened because now him having done this looks bad in hindsight, and so now they're going to pretend like they never did this, that he never did this, that his fan base was never on this train, but here we go.
Did I forget the president? No, I did not forget the president. I voted for the president. I'm just not telling you who I voted for. I am not going to influence your opinion in any direction unless it is to vote por Trump, in which case I will tell you not to do it. Anyway.
I will respect that he told people not to vote for Trump, but that feels like the bare minimum, right? Especially when, like, he's openly not willing to say who he even voted for, as if, let's say he did vote for Kamala Harris, him saying so might encourage his fans to do so. Like, he doesn't even want to risk saying that he voted for Kamala Harris, assuming he actually did, causing his fans to also vote for her. Like, he was not just unwilling to endorse her, he was careful not to accidentally imply that people should vote for her. Like, is that not what's clearly communicated here? And now they're denying this. Now they're denying they ever did this. It goes even further, too. There's so many other clips as well of Hasan doubling down on this. It really does blow my mind. To this day... Oh, did he wipe this
But they would do
clip?
the exact...
Okay, I found the mirror. Yeah, Hasan had this clip taken down because it makes him look bad, but I found a mirror, don't worry.
But they would do the exact same thing. Democrats, if they were in charge right now, would be doing 100% the exact same thing. 1-to-1. Make no fucking mistake. Anyone who tries to tell you that Kamala Harris would be different is a fucking delusional moron. Do not listen to them. Why? Kamala Harris's own campaign aides have actually come out and talked about how they would be doing a better job defending Israel, right?
So, Hasan was definitely not out here calling for people to vote for Kamala Harris. Now, you can say you agree with what he's saying here, but once again, don't try to move the goalpost. The conversation is now Hasan claiming he's never said any of these things. He never did any of these things. And now we're walking all this back. So don't go defending these takes now. All right. Your marching orders are to pretend that none of that ever happened. He never said that, actually. Seriously, guys. I genuinely cannot stand that Trump is basically handing Hasan a martyr card. Okay. Don't celebrate this. All right. Because let's be honest, if he actually does end up getting locked up over this, it's just going to turn him into a martyr. And that is exactly the kind of thing that his ego would love. All right. Not to mention, could be a pretty big canary in the coal mine for the idea of any dissent against the Trump administration being effectively criminalized. If they can find a reason to criminalize it, on a case-by-case basis, that is. They don't need to make criticizing Trump illegal. They can just find an excuse to go after anyone who happens to criticize Trump. You know that's how they do it.